Hey, how's everybody doing?
I'm doing all right, Blake. I guess we can give it a couple minutes for people to join.
Yeah, let's give it another minute or two.
I guess if this is Blake, if this is going to be recorded, we can maybe dive in.
Yeah, sure. If you want, let's get started.
Yeah. Let's see. Um, yeah. So to start, I think what we should do is just provide a quick recap on what's happened over the past couple weeks for the protocol, for the Goldfinch protocol, and then we can also do a run through of the current proposals that are live and recently passed, and then we also wanted to spend some time talking through the roadmap that we that Blake and I proposed to the Goldfinch community. I think we did it last week during our last town hall here. We shared that we were going to propose it, and then we did. So we want to talk through that, and then for the remaining half of this, we can also answer folks' questions. So maybe we can start by going through what happened on the protocol, especially these recent loans that went out. Um, Blake, do you want to share the three loans that went out since our last town hall?
Yeah, sure thing. So last week was a huge week for Goldfinch. We closed three separate pools, totaling up to about $40 million, which doubled the active loans outstanding. So the first pool was Almavest basket number six. That was a $11 million pool. We also closed the Stratos pool. It's called Stratos US FinTech Yield. Stratos is a new borrower to the Goldfinch protocol, so it was great to have someone new come in, and they closed the single biggest loan that Goldfinch has had yet, which is $20 million. So that was awesome. And then also Chorus closed their second pool with Goldfinch, so more repeat customers here, and that was a $10 million pool. So yeah, all told, $40 million, roughly doubling the loans outstanding to about 80 million in total. So that's 100% growth in a week, which is awesome. And thank you, I would say, to all the backers who contributed. Like obviously the protocol could have done it without you. And the utilization of the senior pool went up a good amount. So the senior pool is now doing 8.5% yield base on the USDC, and this is great news for the Goldfinch protocol.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how when we sort of shared the announcements earlier in January about the recent fundraising and the launch of the token, we were like, the protocol has grown, has doubled every 2 months since when it basically launched a year prior, and it's continuing that path, doubling again just in the past couple of weeks. So it was really good to see these loans going out, and they're going out to businesses all around the world, which is great. All three are kind of globally focused. Especially Chorus and Alma are globally focused, and then Stratos is focused more on fintechs in the U.S. So it's a pretty broad group of borrowers who are now immediately benefiting from all of this
Yeah,
capital.
I think those are some of the first U.S. companies to be benefiting from Goldfinch. So it's just great to see new countries and new borrowers.
Yeah. And then I think we can talk about. There's also been a lot of activity in the community with proposals. So I think since we last had the town hall, there were two proposals that passed. One proposal was allowing FIDU to USDC Curve LP positions be staked for GFI liquidity mining rewards. So this one passed with 26 people voting on it. And so that is good to see. There's also a PR that went out on the Warbler, on the Goldfinch repo to make this change. So it was good to see the community participating in this vote. And then the second proposal that passed was to increase the existing leverage ratio from 3x to 4x. That passed with 39 people voting. And that one, Blake and I were also kind of outspoken about this one of hoping to see this one get passed because it has a lot of benefits. One is that the backers will immediately see higher returns because of that higher leverage ratio. And then this will allow the protocol to be utilizing the funds in the senior pool much quicker. And that higher utilization should also increase the USDC yields for the senior pool. And the trade-off there is around additional risk for the backers that they take by taking on sort of more first loss capital, and also for the senior pool having the backstop essentially be 20% to 25%. But it's a pretty, I think I'll say a pretty modest risk trade-off for the additional yield. So I was personally excited to see that one pass, with 39 folks participating. So those are the two proposals that were completed in the last 2 weeks. Blake, anything to add on those before we talk
Yeah.
about the new ones?
Well, when you said the new ones, you're going to get into the no cost forfeit to swap FIDO into background fees because that one also closed recently.
Yeah. I think we should go through them. So, we can talk through them real quick, and then we can dive into the roadmap. But should we go through them? There's like GIPO 3, which is the no cost forfeit swap. Do you want to talk through what that one means?
Yeah, so this was a really interesting proposal that was, I think, originally proposed by Billy Bill in the community. And the idea here is, if someone has money in the senior pool and then they want to put it into a borrower pool when those come up, it should be easy to do that. Right now, once you put money in the senior pool, there's this 0.5% withdrawal fee, which is there to encourage long-term capital, which is definitely something that Goldfinch wants. But if you want to put the money into a borrower pool, that's also a long-term interest in the protocol. So the idea here was, hey, if you want to make that specific move, then there shouldn't be a withdrawal fee, nor should you have to forfeit the GFI rewards from staking your FIDO. And so, I thought this is a great idea. It's still very well aligned with the protocol, right? Like whether you keep in the senior pool or in a borrower pool, those are both really, really valuable for Goldfinch. So the idea here was to remove those costs when swapping into a borrower pool. And so this one passed with actually 96% yes. I think this is one of the most lopsided votes in yes that Goldfinch has had. And I think this is a really cool idea, and it, should hopefully be, live soon-ish. But this is a great proposal.
Sweet. Oh, did that one go through? I think maybe I missed that one before.
It did, yes. It went through.
Yeah.
97% vote and reached the quorum. Yep.
Awesome. And then let's see, there's some other ones still in the discussion phase on the forum. So the next one is GIP 04, which is expanding the eligible voting GFI. And this is about all of the folks who are in the kind of currently vesting contracts, where their GFI is kind of locked up in there. They can still use that GFI towards votes, which would increase the number of folks who can participate in these governance votes. Anything there, Blake? Do you want to add? I don't know if I spoke to the technical details of like how that would work very quickly.
No, so yeah, this one, basically that was right. I was going to put this one up. So this is about expanding the eligible voting, and it is about the people who had airdrops that have long vesting periods. Often those people were the most early and the largest supporters of Goldfinch, so they're kind of the most well aligned. And the initial snapshot voting strategy that we have was just kind of a super simple thing, just looking at the GFI in your wallet. But I think it makes more sense to allow people to say, hey, if you still have the GFI, but it's just unlocking, we know that those are going to be highly aligned people, so they should be able to vote as well. So this does that. This also does one other thing, which is not just for people who received an airdrop, but if you're staking your FIDO, this will also look at the GFI that you earned sort of along the way for your FIDO. It looks at sort of what you could claim if you were to claim it now, and it lets you vote with that GFI as well as whatever is in your wallet. So again, this is just generally about expanding who can vote with GFI towards people who still have GFI. It's still going to be theirs. We're not doing any sort of like future guessing. It's stuff that is definitely theirs. It's just that it's in other contracts, and so we want to be able to sort of sum up both what's actively in your wallet now as well as what could be in your wallet if you wanted it to be.
Yeah, I think that will help a lot and allow a lot more people to participate. Also, yeah. I'm realizing there's so many proposals out. In the interest of time, maybe we'll go through the rest of them like pretty quick, and then if people have questions, feel free to ask later. But I wanted to make sure we have time to talk through the roadmap. So I'll go through the other ones relatively quickly. So there's GIPO 5, which is about a retroactive borrower airdrop. I posted this one. This one is about providing an airdrop of tokens to all of the early borrowers who participated prior to the token launch. So this is this is something I realized we should have done in retrospect, but hopefully this helps us kind of like fix our oversight before. But this is about recognizing these early borrowers for all of the work that they did to kind of help get the protocol going and the initial work we'll need to have their help with going forward. So like it included them setting up entity structures, figuring out regulatory questions and legal documents, and testing things out and working through the flow of funds and external partners. They've done a lot of work already. We need their help doing more work. So this retroactive airdrop is to recognize that work and help incentivize them to continue helping with that going forward. Then there is GIPO 6, which is the roadmap. We'll talk about that in a second. And then there is GIPO 7, which is supporting entities on Goldfinch. So that's a really exciting one. For the UID, the unique ID NFT service that Warbler set up, we on the Warbler side, we expanded that to support entities. And so now this is a proposal for the protocol to accept the new UID types for entities to allow them to participate in both the senior pool and the particular borrower pools where the borrowers decide to support it. So that's a good one, like a quick, easy win, I view, to support entities. And then there is GIPO 8, which is a awesome new proposal for new community management that was by, it was by Manish and Parallax, who I think are both here on the call, I think I saw. But this was a great proposal to include both back pay for the work that the community has done, plus some like an overall system for different kinds of community, what we call community management. So this one I know took a lot of thought and work putting this in. I think it's like I'm really excited about this proposal to see this coming through, and so definitely encourage folks to check this out. Any other things we should add here, Blake, before we dive into the roadmap?
No, I think let's get to the roadmap.
Cool. I actually just turn over to you, Blake, if you want to provide like a bit of an overview here.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about this before. If you wanted to do it, I'm just like volunteering you to chat through it.
Yeah, no, sure. I'm happy to give a bit of an overview. So we kind of teased this a little bit on the last community call, and I think part of what we want to do with this roadmap is take a step back and just remind everyone about just how ambitious we think that the Goldfinch protocol could be, how big it could be, what kind of opportunity is in front of us. We're talking about what we believe is really all of private debt eventually moving on chain. That's like a multi-trillion-dollar market, and this is something that we think is eventually going to seem very, very obvious to everyone in the world. That like, of course, you want to get your loans from a crypto protocol because crypto is eventually going to be just this sink where all of the capital is flowing, and it's going to be the single largest pool of capital. It's going to be this one big global debt market that's going to have the best rates. It's going to be the place where you can do the most with the capital. And so we see that future, and we think this is where Goldfinch can be headed. And to do that, you're going to need this marketplace to organize all that activity, and that's really what we see Goldfinch as being. It's going to be something where people who have never been able to access capital before are going to be able to do that. New businesses from all around the world will be able to tap into the same capital pool that large businesses in developed countries will be able to tap into. I think it's going to be a great equalizer of access, both on the borrower side and the investor side. And we're just like super excited about this, and this is what we think Goldfinch can be. Now, that's going to be a lot of stuff. We have a lot of work to do, and so we laid out here was some of like a way to think about this new this new world, and how do we get there, right? There's three big buckets. We think there's what we call engine, access, and community. And every step along the way, we need to be thinking about what's the constraint to our growth of the protocol. And those constraints will be kind of, you can think about them as different sides of the marketplace, right? There's like LPs, there's backers, and there's borrowers. Right now we're seeing really great demand on the borrower side, like tons of potential borrowers who are really high quality, but we're a little bit constrained on the backers and LP side. And so within those three buckets, engine, access, and community, I think are going to be ways to think about the constraints that will always be in front of us. And so we wanted to propose some things within each of these buckets that can help deal with these constraints of the backers and the LPs. So to remind everyone again, that these three different buckets, engine, we think of this as like the core functionality of the protocol. Like, what are the things that we can actually change sort of at a smart contract level that can enable, more sort of economic value to flow through more easily to the right participants in the right orders. And we think about like access. That's just like, how do we make it easier for people to use the protocol, and how do we make it so that it's more accessible to more people in the world. And then the last one is community. Is, well, who's actually building the engine and the access piece, and how do we create structures to incentivize and invest in building a bigger community to be able to support this engine and access piece. And so with those three things, we laid out some ideas for what we think could happen over the immediate term and then over kind of the midterm for each of these buckets. I'll just quickly run through the kind of names of these, and then maybe we can take questions on individual ones. And I'll leave, Mike, if you want to add anything. So on the engine piece, we think something like an automated leverage ratio would be big. We put staking as coverage as an idea to increase the utility of GFI. Also, potential lockup for voting power. On the access piece, I'll say midterm there, we talked about an auditor system, also origination fees. On the access piece, we talked about lead backer pools, which are these ways for backers to raise their own funds on chain. We also talked about a front end refresh, something to make it much easier for everyone to understand, what they're really investing in and what the Goldfinch protocol has to offer. Also, localized borrower support is a thing that can help open up the Goldfinch protocol to more countries and more borrowers. Then we're talking about backer secondary markets, a scaling solution, backer reputation system, front-end localization. On the community side, we talked about a community grants program, something to really encourage people to be building some of these other things that we're mentioning above. Also, a lot more DeFi integrations. There's a ton of great composability opportunities in front of us. We want to take advantage of those. And then more longer term, thinking about an enhanced governance system, maybe with delegates or governance mining, thinking about a referral program, localized community groups in many countries, and community-based front ends that other people are running. I know there's like a huge list of stuff, but just kind of wanted to get that out there, and then we can start taking some more questions and thoughts about this. Mike, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would just point out that it's a long list of things. I think it's like 18 different things we're proposing here, but every single one of these is like a really substantive thing that can have a really meaningful impact on these three aspects that we described. So like every single one of them I'm super excited about, and I think it's going to require a lot of help from the community to be working on all of them. But yeah, I think that gives an overview. Maybe we can leave it to some questions if anyone wants to ask about any specific elements here, or just in general.
One last thing I'll just add here is, roadmaps for any protocols are, typically they're probably going to end up looking very different 6 months down the line. And so, these are sort of ideas and things that we think we should do. But, it's up to the community, and also the priorities and stuff of these things just tend to shift over time. It's just sort of the natural state of the world. So I just want to point out, like, we don't think this is like in lock, like exactly what it's going to be. And if things deviate, it's, I don't know, to all wrong or something. I think this is these are ideas, starting places for us to sort of have a rough sense of where we think as a community the Goldfinch protocol should be going.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, it involves the community building all of this stuff, which is in our kind of collective control. So I'm sure things will change over time, but I hope the community is excited about the things that we go. I'm personally excited about every piece here, and these are the things I'd be hoping to work on. But yeah, we can open it up. I wonder if anyone here has questions. Feel free to. I'm also, while we're talking, I'm looking at it, trying to understand how to use the Twitter Spaces part to see if anyone
if you want
has
to
questions.
Raise your hand, then we can let you speak.
Let's see. I'm not seeing any of them right here. But I wonder if we have particular questions that we've been getting in the past. I think
Somewhat.
one
Oh,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking. One question that has come up a lot is kind of around the GFI token in terms of ways of building out utility for the token and potentially using the protocol fees in some way related to the token. I don't know. Maybe we can just talk through some possibilities there because I know we've been thinking a lot about like what's possible there.
Yeah, I mean, kind of related to, I think, so there's a question from Discord. It said, what does the Warbler team think on buybacks of GFI, revenue sharing with GFI stakers? What do you think about VGFI as a way to incentivize long-term holding? Any other ideas on driving value to GFI holders? Yeah, so this was, part of the what we kind of list in here as staking as coverage as an idea here about incentivizing holding and lockups as well as value for GFI holders. I think we've had some internal discussions. Some of the stuff around VGFI or lockup is certainly one way to do that. I think coverage is a really interesting way as well because coverage provides security back to the protocol, right? Just a simple lockup is something. It would help incentivize long-term holding of GFI. It doesn't provide any direct value to the protocol. So we've also thought about this coverage thing as being something that's interesting where it both locks up and also provides value to the protocol. And so that's kind of why we put that idea in there. But I would say there's definitely still a lot of open questions on how that design can work. And I think in the idea where someone's locking up and providing coverage, we probably would use fees from the protocol to either buy back GFI and provide that as a reward, or to simply share the fees as a service fee for providing the insurance coverage to the protocol itself.
Yeah, and the high level thing I would say is like I know this sort of idea has come up a lot. I totally agree with it. I think the protocol should use the fees that it's collecting to basically like pay for valuable activities for the protocol, and one of them is using GFI the token towards meaningful purposes where coverage is a great example of this. And so if we were to see that, then I think we'd be able to the protocol would be doing two things at once. One is making good use of the fees, but all like the revenue. I should say, I guess that is receiving, while also giving people a great sort of activity to do with their GFI, and put it to work in other ways beyond simply voting right now. And then there are also like the future sort of like staking mechanisms we've talked about with the auditor system, but it seems like there could be a big kind of incremental benefit just from having a staking mechanism that is using protocol fees to incentivize it. I think that is the most common question we've been hearing from folks, and I think it's also kind of great to see the community seems to like a lot of the folks in Discord seem to like this idea too. So I think like once we kind of have a fleshed out idea here, hopefully that will have a lot of support from folks. Any other questions? Let's see. I'm not seeing any other questions. I'm trying to think if there were any other internal questions that had come up. Let's see. I'll read off one other question that had come up, which is: are there plans to incentivize liquidity on decentralized trading platforms? Some traders may not have access to centralized platforms like Coinbase. Yeah, I think that is a really good point. So we haven't put, like, for example, it seems that might be, for example, I guess incentivizing liquidity on Uniswap or SushiSwap or a place like that. So Blake and I didn't include that necessarily in the roadmap that we shared, and I'll provide my personal view, which is it's hard to think through exactly how much the community would want to allocate towards that in terms of like how much of the treasuries tokens we'd want to do, and are there other ways more organically we can see that kind of liquidity being improved. But if there are folks who think that's a really good idea, like I would love if other folks want to propose something like that to incentivize liquidity and be curious to see like what the community thinks in terms of the correct token allocation. I think when I was looking at that, I just wasn't sure, how much I personally would view as like the right allocation there.
Yeah, I would also add something like this could definitely fall within the DeFi integrations thing. There are certain services, for instance, like Tokamak, who help with this sort of thing, and so potentially there's a great integration possibility to be done there. Um, I also see a question here around, are borrower pools monitored on a monthly, quarterly basis? Is there any capability for community members to propose a new loan idea? So I think these are kind of two separate questions, actually, as I'm reading it. So in terms of our borrower pools monitored on a monthly, quarterly basis, so on the app, there's no immediate way to see this, but typically the borrowers they might be able to send something to the backers themselves. I think that'll tend sort of like borrower to borrower. But I think this is also the type of thing that so they start off in terms of how can you evaluate the performance of the loans at a high level, all the payments come back on chain. And so you can always see the performance there, but whether or not the loans are getting paid back. In terms of the underlying loans and like how those are doing, that's probably going to differ slightly borrower to borrower. And, they may be sending out updates to the backers themselves who participated in those pools. But, if this is something the community wants to see, it can be the type of thing that hopefully, might be able to be built out in future versions of the front end, or it can be sort of encouraging the borrowers to post more publicly about the performance of the underlying loans. I think that would be a great idea, actually. And the second question here is there any capability for community members to propose a new loan idea? So, yeah, on this one, in theory, you can propose things in the governance forum, and people can talk about it. In practice, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff we should be building out to make it more open for borrowers to come forward with particular ideas. This is part of what the auditor system is about, and I think some of the Warbler team is working on certain forms that borrowers could be filling out to be making that open process a little bit more open. It's definitely something that we're going to be wanting to be improved a lot over the coming months.
Cool. It looks like most of the questions come in through Discord versus through Twitter Spaces, which is cool. I think maybe we have time for one more question, and I see one here. And the question is, would you be able to dive further into the proposed staking opportunities in the foreseeable future for Coinbase holders? So what I would say here is for proposed staking opportunities, what we mentioned in the roadmap is a general staking mechanism. We think that could be incentivized by using a portion of the protocol fee. So giving like a really good reason to stake, and it could serve really useful purposes for the protocol, such as providing coverage, as one example. Then this question seems to ask specifically about Coinbase holders. And I would say that I know Coinbase has certain kind of like staking options, but that's more of what Coinbase decides to implement. And so I can't really speak to what Coinbase would do. My hunch is that they would take a little while to implement staking mechanisms. So my guess would be that what we have in the roadmap here is building a staking mechanism within the next 6 months, having that live, that anything Coinbase might do would be quite a while afterwards. So I guess I can't really speak to Coinbase, but I can speak to the general staking mechanism there. Anything to add there, Blake, or
no? I think that's good.
Or anything else? Maybe not. Okay, I think that covers most of the questions here. But we're going to start doing these town halls a lot more frequently, and so keep the questions coming in, and then we'll always provide answers. And these are recorded and available after the fact. So hopefully this was helpful, and thanks for all the folks who shared great questions.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you guys next time.
Thanks, everyone.